Hi folks, I'm Craig Taylor, and as always a huge thank you for joining me here on my YouTube channel, the Bushcraft Padawan. At the beginning of this year, 2018, I made a commitment to spend at least one full day out in the woods every month for that entire year. I did that in February. The link to that video is up here. Today is March the 9th. I'm out again, so let's get cracking with this video. I always like to make sure that when I come out into the woods, I've got a plan in mind. I've got a list of things that I want to cover off or practice or refine to make best use of my time. And today's no exception. Things that I want to look at doing today, things I want to practice, things I want to refine in no particular order. I fancy having a go at making some withies or a withy. I've seen a few videos. I've read about it in Ray Mears and Lars Falk's Out on the Land. I've seen a demo of it on the Bushcraft course I did with Paul Kirtley last year. I've never actually done it myself. It looks quite simple, which is obviously a recipe for it all going wrong. So I want to try that out today, making a withy if the resources present themselves to me. I also want to sharpen my axe whilst I'm out here using just my DC4. I've practiced sharpening at home before on bigger stones, but I want to practice some field sharpening. I want to make some feather sticks. I've become, I think, quite good at that at home with very carefully selected pieces of wood, but I want to try it in more realistic situations today, more realistic surroundings out in the woods. It's been snowing recently, it's been very wet recently, so I want to try that out. I want to keep my hand in with that. I also want to keep my hand in with a one match fire using those feather sticks. Again, something that we were shown and practiced on the Bushcraft course that I did last year. Something that I want to keep my hand in though with. So I've bought a box of matches for the first time in forever, I think, today. So I'm going to try a one match fire using those feather sticks. And also I've recently been watching one of Paul Kirtley's Ask Paul Kirtley videos, and he talks about having fires under tarps, and that's never something I've done. I've considered it, but I've always bottled it. So today I want to get my tarp set up nice and high, have a small controlled fire using the feather sticks and the one match fire and all that I've just discussed underneath the tarp itself. So that'll be a first for me. And I am joined, of course, you may have seen her there, she's in the background. I am joined, of course, by Willow. She made a Bushcraft video debut last month and she's out again this month, and I'm sure she'll be contributing with her valuable inputs like digging holes, knocking the camera tripod, stealing my feather sticks and all of the other value adding things that she brings to the mix. So let's get on with it, shall we? Tarp is set up there. I've just grabbed my cutting tools to have a little wander around to look for some wood for my feather sticks, and just a few meters past the tarp here I've come across this diagonal fallen piece of dead pine, and I've had a look at it, and there seem to be some really good knot-free sections between this point here and this point here, and then again from this point here down to this point. So I'm hoping if I can get that taken down, get that processed down into smaller slivers of wood, I can start to work on my feather sticks. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so the first one is not textbook by any stretch of the imagination. I'd really hoped that this was going to split nice and cleanly into lovely, long, equal lengths, as they say. Nothing goes to plan when you do it on camera. If nothing else, this will be decent fuel for the fire. It's just, I think, I'm not sure, what do you think? It just seems to be shattering as I attempt to cut it down. Maybe it's too rotten, maybe it's too dead. I'm midway through the feather stick making, and I've got to admit I'm having a really tough time. I've been to 4, 5, maybe 6 different areas since that original footage that you saw me taking that diagonal slanting dead tree down. Been to 4, 5, 6 other places. Every single piece of wood that I select from a dead standing tree, when I actually come to process it, it either just splits horribly, and I've tried my axe and I've tried batoning, so I'm either really, really unlucky with my selection, or I'm not processing it down well. I can process wood down, I've done it before. If you look up here, you'll see a feather sticking video where I've processed it down there. I kind of know how to do it. Bad workman always blames his tools and all that, but I'm just having a really bad luck today finding wood in the right condition to be processed down. I'm picking long pieces, I'm picking knot-free pieces, it's just not playing ball though. I've also attempted to find some silver birch. There's quite a lot of silver birch behind me actually, that stand there, there's a lot of silver birch in there. A little bit more successful with that, but I was only able to get very, very, very short pieces in between the knots on the silver birch. So it is with a heavy heart that I'm going to can the idea of the feather sticks and the one match fire, and it pains me to do that, it really does, because it feels like giving up a little bit. I could spend all afternoon out here and ultimately it all falls into place and I'd get a great feeling of satisfaction. I could also spend all afternoon out here and just end up with a big pile of punky, warped wood that just doesn't lend itself to being feather sticked. So I'm going to go for the former because I want to get a hot drink, I want to get some soup on, and I want to try out this under the tarp fire, and if I need a fire to do that. So I'm going to cut my losses, I'm going to learn from this, I'm going to go back home and I'm going to do some more work locally to try and find some wood in the right condition to process that down. I think the problem that I've got is that I'm surrounded by pine here, and I'm positive, I know that pine is a good wood for feather sticking, just not the ones that I've picked. Well, there we have my first ever under tarp fire. One of the things that Paul mentioned in his video that he was recording was about being able to see the steam evaporate off tarps once you've got a fire going underneath. And if I just raise this camera up ever so slightly, I must admit it panicked me about 2 minutes ago when I saw that. I thought, oh no, it's melting, it's on fire. Actually no, it's just the water from the slight shower we had earlier on evaporating from the top of the tarp. Science. So quite pleased with that. First time that I've ever done it. I don't think I'd want a fire any larger than that, but that's plenty enough for me to get a drink on the go, get some soup on the go, and probably to do some cooking as well. No need for a roaring fire if you look after it and select the appropriate food to be cooking on a small fire. So quite pleased that I experimented with this. Certainly something that I can see myself doing in the future. One of the things that I want to get better at this year, which won't take much effort to be honest, is using my axe, handling of it, use of it, confidence in it, and all of those things that are wrapped around that. So I've started to try and use it more frequently than I do. You've seen me using it in this video already. In order to process some of the failed feather sticks, which then became the firewood. And I'm also making some roads to become better at using the axe by going on a course next month, in fact, end of April, once again with the guys at Frontier Bushcraft. I'll be talking more about that and what I hope to get from that in a video coming up soon, an upcoming release, if you will. So yeah, expect to see me wielding my axe more often in the future. I've just taken a little wander from our Tarp area just to try and identify or locate some resources or resource to practice making this withy. And I don't think I'm in the best area, to be perfectly honest. Lots and lots of pine trees, so lots of very mature pine trees. You take a look behind me, there's no new shoots coming off those. And what I'm really looking for is a tree with young, fresh-ish, not too small, not too thin, but fresh-ish shoots coming from them at a fairly low level to the ground so that I can access them. And there just isn't anything around here. Everything's very mature, everything's very old, or everything's very dead. There were some holly trees back there, and I tried it. You may be able to see just behind me some of the greenery over this shoulder. Some holly trees back there, or some holly bushes. I really should know the difference, shouldn't I? But that was no good. I trimmed the shoots of leaves so that I could handle them because it was spiky, and started to twist, but they just kept snapping clean off. So I don't know if that means that it's completely the wrong tree. I don't know if that means that they're too mature, too old. The shoots are too old, they're too established, they're too stiff. I'm really not sure. So rather than just keep mooching around here, because it's pretty much all the same as far as I can see, what I'm going to do is I'm heading back to the Tarp now. I'm going to pack it up, and I'm going to take a different route than normal back to the car, and hopefully I can identify something en route there. Fingers crossed this isn't going to go down the same road as the feather sticks and be a bit of a washout. So I'm really hoping we can finish on a high and find something to practice making this withy out of. Time will tell. I am now back at the car. Car's just over there. Willow is in it now, warming back up again, getting dry. And as you've seen, between the last footage and this, there's been no withy action. And that's because I haven't been able to find anything. Despite the best part of a mile walk back through some woodland, I haven't been able to find anything that fits with what I think I should be looking for to construct a withy. Now that could be because there simply hasn't been anything, and I've not seen anything. It could be because I am completely looking for the wrong thing. My understanding is, as I said earlier, it should be a relatively fresh young shoot, quite malleable, quite flexible, some rigidity to it, but not a great deal that I can then twist and deconstruct the fibres to make something akin to a stiff rope, if you like. And I haven't found anything. So either there hasn't been, or I'm just not looking for the right thing. Add that to the feather stick fiasco earlier on, and it doesn't feel like a particularly successful day, if I'm really honest. I don't want to get a downer on it, but it doesn't feel that successful. Didn't achieve the feather sticks, which means that I didn't do what I wanted to do with the one stick match. Didn't find anything to construct a withy with, which, let's be honest, when you add all those three things together, they were the majority of the things that I wanted to do today. If you put all that to one side, I don't think there's any problems with these things when they go wrong or when they don't go right. Makes you focus, makes you look for things. You know, I've been scanning with my eyes constantly for the last mile or so, looking for stuff. So that in itself is no bad thing. You know, looking at different trees, looking at different shrubs and the vegetation, trying to figure out what the right thing could be for a withy. So even though it has been a fail as such, as always, and it's a very cliched thing to say, there's some learning in that as well. Maybe I need to think about what my objectives are and try and, for these all days, maybe try and measure some things that I know will be achievable and some things that might be a bit of a stretch. Although I must admit, I thought feather sticks would be achievable, just so gutted that I couldn't actually break the wood down into pieces that would lend themselves to being feather sticks. If only I could have got those nice straight pieces of wood, I know that I can carve good feather sticks. I know that, but I need the wood there in the first place. There's something else for me to work on. I'm waffling now, so let's bring this video to a close. If you've enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you're not yet a subscriber, and about 60% of the people that watch my videos are not subscribers, so why don't you change that percentage and click this button in the bottom corner of the screen and you'll become a subscriber. And finally, if there's anybody in your network that you think would benefit from watching this, you know what to do with that share button. From Willow and myself, thanks for joining us in the woods today, and we'll see you again very soon. Cheers.